Well, hey there. We had a great time outdoors last Sunday. Hope you were here. We had such a large crowd. It was awesome. If you watch online, hopefully that went okay for you as well. So in the passage for this week, we were looking at the last part of Matthew chapter 8, and Jesus had that famous experience where he calmed the wind and the waves, calmed the storm after he had been sleeping during it, and the disciples woke him up in fear. They were afraid, and he said, "Oh, you of little faith, why are you so afraid?" And then after he got to the other side, after they got to the other side of the lake, we had that other famous story of, as Matthew's account says, the two demon-possessed men who were living in the cemetery, more or less. Now, each of the Gospels that shares that story is a little bit different. Matthew says two men were there, and Mark and Luke say one, or at least they focus on one of the two. That's not alarming, nothing to make the story any less true or anything, just like maybe one stood out more or something like that. So in that story, that's what happens. The demons are invading the men, and Jesus, of course, goes and gets those demons casts those demons out of and into the pigs who go down the hillside and drown in the Sea of Galilee. But as the service was wrapping up and I was talking to folks after the service, I had a great conversation with somebody from our church, and they shared how they had actually been to the Sea of Galilee and took them to the tour, took them to the place that was presumed to be where the men were and where Jesus went there. And he took away something very memorable from that experience that the tour also helped him with, and that is that Jesus went there. Remember the response of the people of the city when they heard about these crazy, violent men no longer being bound by demons. Their response was, "Leave, Jesus. You and your guys, leave." And so when you think about it, Jesus goes from Capernaum because he's tired, wants to get away, but he goes and he lands down there in Gerasenes, I think it was called, and heals these two men or casts the demons out, changes their lives, brings them back to him, or at least shows them his power. And my friend and the one from our church who had this conversation, he said that was the conclusion that the tour guides made, that Jesus was willing to go all the way there, go through all that through the disciples for the one, for the two. And we've seen that in other points of the New Testament, right? In Jesus' life, how we know the parable of the 99 that Jesus left behind, the 99 sheep to go find the one. And this was another great example of Jesus' willingness to save people. Maybe your experience is somewhat similar to that. Maybe you know somebody who was far from Jesus and Jesus brought them back to him. Jesus is willing to do whatever it takes to save even one. And so what does that mean for you? Let me just ask you this. Who is one person in your life, in your circle, that you know is far from Jesus or needs to know Jesus as Lord and Savior? Who is one person that comes to mind? I'm guessing that you already have been, but I'd encourage you to pray specifically for their salvation in the days ahead. And after you've prayed and while you've prayed, I would encourage you to act as well, to share with them what Jesus and following him has meant to you, and what he has to offer them, the hope and the peace and the forgiveness of sins that we all need. So that's my challenge for you this morning, this week, and this day ahead. Have a great time. Pray like crazy for that friend of yours.